Hello, everybody. Welcome again to another episode of the Playing On Podcast. My name is Carl Markowski, and thank you for joining me. What's up? Good morning. Good afternoon. I keep saying good morning because I keep doing these things in the morning, so my first thought is good morning. But whenever you listen to this, hello, how you doing? This episode is with Tim Montressor from Tampa Bay Damage. But everybody knows him from all the teams he's played for. He's been an impact on everything. He's been in the industry for a while. He knows what he's talking about. He's a smart guy. Grew up playing around him a little bit back when I was on Tip and Effect and coming on up into the game. But he's one of those guys too that I knew a good fair amount about him. But all the little details that I wasn't able to find out until this podcast was pretty cool, and really his status in what he did as far as for DLX and what he does, because he travels all over the place. It's crazy, but he's one of those guys for the sport that just is nonstop helping the sport out, making it bigger, wanting it to grow, and has a pretty good mindset on what he wants to do as far as tournament paintball goes and the direction he'd like it to see it, the direction he would like to see it to go. But before we get into the podcast, like to thank our sponsors. Thank you to Charm City Paintball. He has over at his Facebook page, Charm City Paintball, he has all kinds of custom head wraps, headbands. He makes 10 or less of each, so it's really a custom run of all of them. They're all hand sewn by Mike himself. He has all kinds of name brand fabrics and patterns, Realtree. He has some Gucci left, I believe, but he's in it for quality and just making a really standout headband and custom stuff too. Like whatever you can think of, he will definitely try and help you out. He has head wraps that both tie in the back and they're Velcro. So and he has a bunch of patterns that you can check out. Check out his Facebook at charmcitypaintball.com. Actually not .com, it's just a Facebook. He's working on a web page, but tell him that Carl over at Playing On Podcast sent you over there. So thank you to him. Also, a big thank you goes to Raza Paintball. You can find them at Raza Life. And if you don't know Raza by now, you're living under a rock, because this company has been pulling out all kinds of custom gear, custom printed shorts, jerseys. He has like a head wrap, protective head wrap. He has all kinds of stuff, and it's all custom. He has some designs that you can choose from, but he also has a team of designers that will help find your perfect logo, pattern, jersey style, whatever you need. You can find at razalife.com, and if you put in capital TPOP at checkout for the discount, you'll get 19% off. So that's pretty cool. So thank you to Raza. And lastly, thank you to Planet Eclipse for producing the best markers on the planet. Yes, specifically speaking, the LVR, because I shoot that butter machine, and it's just, that for me personally, I would rather have like a soft shot and a like everybody says, LVs, they have like a drop. They don't have a drop off. It's just the way that you look at it. The way your eye is positioned on that marker, whatever. I don't think there's a drop off. I think it's a smooth shot. I think it's one of the, if not the best, paintball marker that Planet has come out with. That's arguable because they have so many awesome markers over there. But check out the new LV 1.5. Check out the LVR as well as the CS 1.5. So thank you to Planet Eclipse. All right, enough of my jabbering, guys and ladies. Here is the podcast with Tim Montressor. Enjoy. All right, dude. I'm happy to finally find you at home, not traveling. We can talk, because every time I try and get you on this damn thing, it's always, well, it's got to be like within 2 days, because I'm on an airplane to this place, to that place, this place. You're everywhere.
Yeah, paintball keeps me busy, that's for sure. Between all the teams and work and everything else, stay on the grind.
What is it exactly that you do?
I do brand development for GOG, Shocker Paintball, and DLX Technology. So that encompasses sales, a little bit of marketing. I've been specializing a lot in international distribution now. So in the third tier markets like Asia, South America, Canada. So it keeps me pretty busy.
So so it's a little bit of everything? Kind of a...
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. I first started there, so I finished my master's degree, and I went back there to do sales and to help launch the Enemy, which is our mechanical gun, like our entry-level gun. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of developed into more and more and more, so I got more involved with DLX, and then we do a lot of stuff with the Shocker Paintball, so it just kind of got me involved with that. So I was no longer just exclusive to just sales. Marketing, promos, sponsorship, everything that goes into the brand, I do a little bit of that.
Yeah. So I mean,
tech. I'm the worst tech. I'm horrible tech.
Except actually the paintball marker itself.
Yeah, that's not good.
So I mean, is this eventually what you wanted to do besides playing the game? Is get into the sport as far as a company goes?
I don't know. It just kind of fell into my lap.
Yeah.
So it just kept evolving and evolving and evolving. And the reality is that to play at a high level, you have to have something subsidizing the industry. I mean, you know how it is, right? I mean, it's hard for you to get time off with a real job. And for me, I want to pursue it in regards to going internationally, going to Europe, going to Mexico, going to South America, whatever. So, and the only way to do that is to work in the industry. But I like working for the Gardeners. They've always treated me well. So I actually wake up every day and like to go to my job.
Yeah. I mean, that's the goal eventually of every, job there or career that somebody has, is waking up and have it not feel like a job.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to go in and like what you do. I mean, I know so many people that just wake up every day and then that rat race. Yeah. And that sounds horrible.
No, it's terrible. Like I enjoy my job and what I'm doing. I like getting my hands dirty. I like fixing things. I like, taking things apart and putting them back together. But at the end of the day, doing something like this or playing paintball or growing the sport or being involved in the sport, that is what I feel like my true, I don't know, calling, I guess you could say, but I feel like that's what I should be doing.
Right.
But that's not what's paying my bills.
I mean, and it's harder because, I mean, you have a family now, so, kudos to you for doing that. And, I don't have that. And, maybe I'd make different decisions if I did. Right. But, right now I wake up every day and I can do what I like, so I might as well enjoy it.
Well, yeah, you're still, I mean, how old are you now? Like 34?
I'm not young. I'm 33.
Once you
hit 30.
I'm 31, so you're not that far away from me.
You're pretty much dead too, dude. You're pretty much 1 foot in the grave.
That's all right. I feel good, though. That's what matters.
That's what matters. Waking up feeling good is what matters. Some days get harder and harder. You wake up and things hurt a little more.
I've definitely noticed, like, I've been eating healthier. Like, I've always been at least conscious of what I'm eating and what I'm putting into my body. But I definitely feel at least taking a day or so more just to recover from like a tournament or anything like that. Like going back to work on Mondays, it's terrible. It sucks so bad.
The lower back, the knees,
my entire body. Yeah. Well, especially playing the position that I play, like. Oh yeah. And taking nothing away from you, but I feel like I do a little bit more diving than.
Yeah, there's no way. Like there was a time when I used to just be that guy, and then I thought about it. I go, it's so hard to stay long. I have some longevity in the game playing that spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you think about like you, Thomas, that's all I got right now.
I would say name any of the guys over 30 that are playing that spot. It's like,
yeah, that's it. Tough. I mean, I can't really think of many.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm still doing it. I don't know how I'm still doing it and haven't really, knock on wood, like injured myself, during a match or like at practice or doing the shit that you have to do to play that position, or even back spots, like running out to and shooting out to a corner and diving into a corner. I mean, that's shit.
That's nothing compared to like when you guys are running. I mean, I used to do it 10, 12 years ago, and then I woke up one day and I was like, this sucks. It was fun, and the team needs it, but dude, the turnover on those positions is high.
Yeah, and I think for me, like I feel like I could, step back and be like, hey, one of you young shits can step in, start playing this spot a little bit more. But for me, like, it's still really fun and really challenging for me, and my body can still somewhat do it. So I feel like until I don't want to say like until an injury curbs me or anything like that, but I just feel like until I feel like I'm not effective anymore is when I'll maybe take a step back to a 2 or a fucking corner or something like that and not move anywhere.
Right, I hear you.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it kind of all depends too where the game heads. I mean,
right.
it actually has slowed down in my opinion in the last 4 or 5 years. So
you think? I mean, not just with the balls per second, but you think the format itself, X ball itself, has kind of slowed the game down?
Yeah, I mean, this actually starts the whole spiel that actually kind of gets me heading in a different direction. But yeah, the whole game's become stagnant. I mean, if you look at all the teams that win consistently, most of them win by playing that short game. That what do they call it? They call it pocket or whatever.
That pocket, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what consistently wins the tournaments. Yeah, you got to gamble once in a while to the corner or to the snake or the 50 drill randomly. But the reality is that the game is won by playing inside.
But you know what I feel like doesn't help, though, is that they keep putting out these fields. And I don't know, nothing against, well, I guess kind of something against of whoever's making the fields. But if you keep putting a back center and then, a tower and an Aztec, 30 feet from the start box, it's always going to be that way until you start, spreading those initial primary bunkers away from that back center. I feel like it's always going to be like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a catch-22, right? Because when you do that, remember MAO in 2014 at OXTC in Maryland where it poured, it was super muddy. I think Dynasty ended up winning the event. It was.
Yeah, I think so.
There was a tower in the back center, and then a huge gap on the Dorito side, and then there was a tower on the snake side, and that was it. And everybody put 2 guys in the back center, 2 guys in the tower on the snake side, and 1 guy up the middle because you couldn't go anywhere. So it just becomes down to risk versus reward, and it's just a byproduct of the environment of the game. Like the reality is that if we went back to using the 2003 layouts now that we're all a little bit smarter, I don't think anybody would run anywhere. There'd be 5 guys in the back center.
That'd be no fun.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think it's just the game. I mean, I'm not really sure what they can do to the game because adding the wall, adding all these bunkers at least gives you the chance to make some moves, but the teams that win are the ones that actually play low risk.
Yeah. I mean, I can see both sides of that though, right? I mean, would you consider a guy going up to the wall every single point? Would you consider that low risk or high risk?
I consider it low risk because statistically you're better to go to the wall, and at worst case scenario you trade. So assuming you can make it, you're better off going there and then you trade and then you're 4-on-4. And then under the let's say you go there 100% of the time, the other team goes 50% of the time, and you're making it. Then there's 50% of the time that you're in the wall in the most dominant bunker in the field with nobody contesting you. And then if they go up there 50% of the time, then you trade. Yeah. Right. So then you're 4-on-4. So that's at least my theory on it.
Do you think they're going to keep that thing?
Probably not. I mean, I would think that they have to eventually make some changes. The game, if they do it a third year, the games play out the same no matter where they put the bunkers because this thing's huge. The games are all going to be the same. So I think you have to change something that big every probably 24 months to keep the game fresh.
No, I would agree with that. Just like you said, to keep it fresh and to keep everybody on their toes, because definitely introducing it has changed the game, hands down, I feel. I think something else, I forget who I was talking to about it, but I feel like even maybe enlarging the field a little bit could, make some kind of dramatic change in the game. With everything so narrow, I think that also contributes to that whole pocket play.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, that was the difference between 7-man and the 5-man that we play now, and it's not necessarily the 2 extra guys, right? The 7-man fields were 180 by 100, so you could make the corners pretty easily. Versus we're at 150 by 120, so that square footage makes a pretty big difference in making your spots.
I think that would be a decent sized field, a 7-man field, and even playing 5-man on it. I miss 7-man so much. I think it just brought out that instinctual play of all the really great players, I feel. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think we lost something as a game when 7-man ended. Do you think the future of paintball is this format as far as people watching the sport and not really knowing much about it? Do you think that this is the format that brings us to the next level, or on TV, not necessarily on TV, but attracts more of the outside?
See, this is actually always this can be a tough question for me because I'm conflicted in a lot of different ways, right? I have to be careful what I say,
Right.
because working in the industry, playing on teams, having involvement, whatever, the growth of paintball, you don't want to be super negative. I did a podcast with Cena, and I almost came off too negative, and it wasn't meant to be that way. But the reality is that I think that what we do now actually hinders our growth, right? It's hard to say, it's bad, because at the NXL level, there's growth. I mean, there's 230 teams for Chicago. Mm-hmm. So at least on the national level, we're getting some growth. But the reality is that that won't be on TV. I mean, they put millions of dollars into it before, and it's just repetitive, right? I mean, if you have known nothing about paintball, right? What got me into paintball was when I watched, I think it was 96, 97. They had it on ESPN, but it was in the woods, right? And I saw that and I go, oh shit, that's something I want to do, something I like to do. But kids watch this and this guy just runs 5 feet to his bunker, shoots a bounce shot, and then everyone's dead. I mean, that's more or less what we do, and it doesn't look fun to the outsiders.
See, but and like kids growing up now who don't know woods ball and only know this tournament side of the game, who grow up on this side of the game, I feel like they understand it, and I think that some people coming up in the game, I think that is fun to them, and that's what attracted them. And I'm trying to find that area of where I don't think reverting back to the woods, even though it's fun as shit to us, because that's we had some kind of beginning in that era. But I feel like we have to kind of start finding that attractiveness to the game, because it's going to be repetitive. Look at hockey, look at football, look at all these other sports. It's very repetitive. It's football for sure. You have these different plays, but everybody's doing the same thing. They're hiking the ball at this line, doing this, doing that, touchdown, whatever. I think something has to be repetitive to have some kind of attraction from somebody.
Right.
But it's like it's hard to find what it is.
I see where you're going with that, and my argument to that, because I've had plenty of these in some of these meetings with a lot of different people. My argument to that with television is the fact that, one, the 4 major sports all have one focal point, right? So whether it's the basketball, the football, the hockey puck, or the baseball, right? There's one single focal point, which makes it easy to follow. In paintball, there's not, right? There's millions of paintballs and 5-on-5 and all this crazy stuff, and there's a car crash, and you have no idea how that happened. All of a sudden, people are just walking off, right? Mm-hmm. Or conversely, you look at motocross and NASCAR, NASCAR is actually one of the most watched sports in the country. There's also just one focal point, the leader. You don't watch the losers. You don't watch the guys at the end. No one gives a shit, right? Yeah. So there's a single focal point, which we can't really create in paintball because it's just such a dynamic game. So my argument against that is the fact that as an industry, we have to stop worrying about television, right? We tried it. I mean, Dick Clark came in, ESPN came in, and it didn't work. I'm not saying it failed, right? It just never took off, right? Fox Sports came in for a while too, right? They put a bunch of money into it. But at the end of the day, stop concerning yourself with television and start concerning yourself with conversion rates, or the opportunity to present the game to more people to play, right? And then let's say if we had 10 times the amount of people that play this now, then the numbers on what's television will be reflective of that, right? So the only people that are going to probably watch paintball consistently now are those that play, and the demographics just aren't enough.
Right. Well, I wouldn't even say television. I would say maybe somehow do a YouTube live webcast or something like that. Even direct it more towards the internet. And
right.
But it's always, we're always trying to find that next step to make the sport bigger, grow, to have some kind of impact where outside sponsors or whoever wants to grow the sport, because it's really what we want to do with it.
Right.
Because your involvement in the sport or even in the industry is that you used to be a player and now you're in the industry, just like a lot of the guys who are running these companies.
I think I'm still trying to be a player, at least pretending to be a player.
You definitely are. I'm kidding. You're still out there making it happen, man. Don't get me wrong.
But, I know what you mean.
Yeah, you have a player's instinct, and you want to see the sport do well, and you came from that. So I just don't want to see it, fall away from being fun anymore.
Right.
And
and I think the thing that concerns us, right, as in regards to the industry, is what really ended 7-Man wasn't a lack of participation. Let's be honest. At one point they were the kings, right? I remember going to Huntington Beach. That place was crazy.
Yeah.
what happened was that the industry couldn't at the time. They could, but they decided they didn't want to support two series, right? So you take all the platinum sponsors, you take all the professional sponsors, and you consolidate them. And at the time, everybody had ownership into the PSP, right? The MPPL was privately owned by WDP and what do you call it? Pure Promotions. Mm-hmm. So they were going solo, and when they went bankrupt after Buffalo in 2008, I think it was, the industry was just like, hey, we can't support two, so we're going to choose the one that we own. And that's how X-Ball really survived, because in the reality, 7-man was probably 50-50 in regards to the industry. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like the players stopped playing it. The industry just had to choose one to go. So with that being said, I mean, the shifts in regards to what we play happened really fast. I mean, we've been saying X-Ball is just this thing that we're so tied to, but you didn't grow up playing X-Ball. I remember that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You grew up playing 10-man. And then there was just one day when you woke up and it was gone.
I never played a 10-man tournament, though.
Right, but you know what I mean? You grew up at Toledo Indoor when 10-man was the thing, right? When Colby's out there playing Bad Company and Aftershock and Farside were coming, 10-man was the king, and that's where you wanted to be because that was the pinnacle of it. Right. And the reality is that I'm a firm believer that what is relevant is what the industry decides to make relevant. If tomorrow X-Ball ended, there'd be a hit. I mean, I'm not advocating for that, right? X-Ball's huge. It should continue growing. It's whatever. But it happens that fast, and it's just because that's what we put value to. Paintball is inherently fun. Right, it's just which version can create the most growth to the most demographics.
But it's all experimental, though, right? I mean, and we don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work until we try it.
That's true. You're right. So that's why we have to try something else. That's my own argument. Right. And I think the NXL should do what they're doing. I think they're doing awesome, right? Tom is killing it. I mean, Atlantic City was probably one of the best events not called World Cup I've been to in 15 years. I mean, Atlantic City was awesome, right? I mean, what they have 230 teams, and
it would have been so much more fun if we played Sunday.
You guys played good too. What happened,
dude? Well, if I wouldn't have fucking stepped on my dick against you guys, and if we would have didn't step on our dicks against Uprising, we would have been playing on Sunday. Like it's because our game against you guys was fucking head to head, toe to toe, like the entire time, and then the overtime point, it just went to shit. I mean, I really thought.
I thought you guys had it. Honestly, I swear to God, I look over and we lost a couple bodies, and I came into the pit and I looked out there and stupid Joe Barrett is out there, and I'm like, okay, not taking anything away from Joe, but it was like a 2-on-1, and I was like, okay, we're done. We got to start thinking about the next game. And then all of a sudden, he's running in, hanging, and pushing the buzzer, and I was like, jeez.
Yeah, well, dude, it's because when LJ ran him down, I thought that because I saw the ref kind of run around, I thought he shot him. I thought they shot each other. And then I kind of was like looking, and I didn't really see him, so I tried to just run behind a bunker quick, and like his first ball just hit me in the chest. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Because did you know I was in that little like cake, or what the hell was I in? I was like in the 50 snake. Because you were in the corner.
Yeah, I remember you ended up shooting me. Yeah.
Fuck, dude. I like.
Yeah, well, that's the way she goes, right?
well, I didn't get to watch you. I didn't get to watch you guys throughout, but what did you guys change, or did you change anything to be able to make it to Sunday, or even second place for that?
Yeah, I mean, like we're not slow starters, but sometimes we got to put some stuff together, right? What you do in practice isn't the same. I mean, you feel like, okay, this is going to work in practice. I can make these spots. This guy's playing good. This guy's playing bad. And when you go to tournaments, dude, it's all wide open. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's been times when I go to tournaments and I'm like, man, I'm playing so sweet in practice. I play like shit at the tournament. And vice versa. I play like shit in practice. I go to the tournament and I actually have a good event. So, we just had to put two and two together just in regards to the personnel, who plays where, which zones we're covering.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, we actually made some drastic changes that probably didn't look like a lot, but to us, they were big.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking about that, because I know we kind of went off on a little tangent, but I wanna kind of start back where you came from and how you found paintball and your beginnings. Around what year and how old were you when you first discovered, and how did you discover paintball?
I started playing probably around 99. Right, which sounds like a long time ago, but so it was around 99. I started playing. I used to live in Georgia, and I would drive over to Dothan, Alabama, to play paintball. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where I was living for a long time. That's how I got into the game. And then when I was maybe around like 15, right before I turned 16, we moved to Detroit. So and that's when it took off for me. So then I met Fatty's brother right? Remember Fatty,
Mm-hmm.
right? Fatty played with us on the All-Americans and Infamous and whatever. I met his brother. We had a chemistry class together in high school, and I look over and this idiot's wearing a JT jersey in class, right?
I did that.
And I'm like, yeah, of course, I could totally do that with you. Growing up, you would have
Haven't,
definitely
dude. I should be wearing one right now.
So I look over, I was like, dude, you play paintball? And he's like, yeah, man. And so we ended up hanging out together, and he got me a job at Future Ball. And
Oh, nice.
so I was like, okay, I want to make some money. And I was playing, but not that much. So then when I started working there, I got really into it. And I met Steve's brother, Fatty. And then we just made our own team and just took off from there.
So, when you met Fatty, like, did you not know about tournament paintball, or was it just kind of still in the woods?
So yeah, like we were playing like scenario games and walk on, and we knew there were tournaments. But like growing up in Michigan, actually in like around the Ann Arbor, Detroit area, there weren't that many tournaments, right? You actually had to go to more like to Colors or like out to Kalamazoo. So there weren't that many tournaments. And then at Future Ball, he started getting into the NAPSA tournaments, right, which are like a big tournament in the Midwest that Farside used to win.
Mm-hmm.
So James hosted one at Future Ball just randomly out of the blue, and I was like, sure, we'll give it a try. And we went there, and I think they had a 3-man. It was me, Dago Nick, remember Dago Nick?
Yeah.
Fatty, and we got whitewashed, dude. It was awful. Like, I don't know if we shot a dude all day, but it was so much fun that then we're like, okay, you know, maybe this is something we can get into, right? Because I grew up playing sports, so if you're not playing to win, you know, paintball, just playing walk-on was only going to last me so long.
What'd you play growing up?
Football, baseball, rugby.
What was your favorite before paintball?
I liked football because growing up I was way bigger than every kid. I was probably almost the same size now as I was when I was 13.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I was huge. And then when I got my freshman year of high school, I was not big anymore. And then all those kids that I was beating up in 8th, 7th, 8th grade were beating me up. And I was like, okay, this isn't going to work out for me anymore. So, you know, but that competitive drive actually is what kind of drove me in paintball because I found out, you know, there's winners and losers and there's tournaments and there's money and there's divisions you can rank up in.
Yeah. So after you kind of got, you know, shit stomped, where did that just drive you into wanting to get better at the tournament scene? So
we had this local team around Michigan called Mayhem, and we sucked. Like, we're really bad. And at the time, the guys that used to beat Michigan was funny, right? I mean, you grew up there. There's always one team, pretty much one group of guys that won everything within like a 3-hour radius. And when I grew up, it was Jason Trozen, Grant Butler, Matt Page, right?
Dude, Grant was sick.
Dude, he was like 15, and him, Matt, and Jason would win every tournament in a 3-hour radius, right? 3-mans, 5-mans, they'd pick up 2 random dudes, and they'd just clean house. And they probably, in 2 years, probably won like 15 tournaments. Jesus. And so then they kept winning all these tournaments at Toledo Indoor, right? So then Eric Garbers said, hey, we need some more players to Tip and Effect, and he picked up all 3 of them. And so then they didn't have the time to play the local scenes. So me and Fatty were getting better. We're like, all right, now it's our time, dude.
Filling in, yeah.
We started playing, and we started doing pretty good. And then Jason called us and said, hey, you know, we need some more younger guys that have some drive to be better, because Tip and Effect was pretty good, but they were older guys.
Right.
And it wasn't like every tournament you go to, you're not going to practice every week. It was when you could. So when Jason wanted to change that dynamic, so we ended up going there, and we played with like Matt. Or actually, Matt might have gotten a fusion, but it was Grant, Jason, me, Fatty, and a bunch of other younger kids. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that kind of got everything going, whereas, like, you get sponsored. I could play paintball whenever I wanted. Titman was helping us out. And, you know, then I started playing all the local tournaments around Michigan. And then it was, like, our turn. Then there was a run where it was me, Fatty, Cody Smick, and Craig Bowen. Do you remember Craig Bowen?
It sounds really familiar.
Yeah, so the 4 of us pretty much played tournaments every week around in Michigan. I paid for like my way to get through college at first, and we were winning the guns every weekend.
Yeah.
So and that was a pretty cool opportunity, and that's really what put me to say, you know what, fuck it, this is what I want to do.
So how long did you play on Tippin for?
Just 1 year. So I got on the team in January of 2002 when I was in high school, and we played Vegas. No, we went to LA. And we did okay. I think we maybe went 4-4, but we missed a cut. And then half the team got quit or got cut before Vegas. And we went 0-8 in Vegas, which was horrible, dude. And I thought about leaving the team, but then Eric said, hey, you know, what do you guys think we should do? And they ended up finding Drew Heyer and Cody Smick, who, you know, at the time bringing in a kid, I mean, they were probably like 14, 15.
Something
like they were
like that.
really young, yeah. And so bringing them in was cool though, because they're super excited to play. So it said, I'm going to finish the year out. And then we started getting better. And what set us off was we won the IAO. So we won. We took second in the 5-man. That was when Brimstone won the $50,000 with the Spiders.
Jesus.
Which, I don't know. I still think we won it. Whatever, to fall here or there. But we won the 7-man, and I don't think we lost a game the whole 7-man.
Yeah.
And so then that really put the team on the map. And then Drax has stepped up and started sponsoring us, and Tittman put way more money in, and that was right around the time when X-Ball was shown. So X-Ball was shown at that event, the Nations Cup at IEO, and I saw that and I go, fuck, that's what I want to do, right?
Yeah.
It was so sweet. Watching John Richardson and LaSoya and shit, they're just running through every point, and I go, that's what I want to do. And so I thought about, I was going to try out for Fusion at the end of the year, right? That was kind of the way it went in Michigan. You were on Tittman Effect, and then if you made it, you got to try out for some like Fusion.
Yeah.
So
did we play together on Tittman?
Nope, you came right whenever I had left. So I'll get there in a second. So I went to go try out for Fusion, but then Fusion was merging with Lockout. They were either going to merge with Lockout to make a 10-man team, and then X-Ball happened and Crossman stepped up. And so Mark Worrell said, hey, come try out and be part of the Michigan half of the team that joins the Lockout, and I ended up making it. So then I left, but right before I left, I called Eric and I said, hey, we need to kind of make the sponsorship a little bit better for the team. We need to be able to play the PSP and the MPP all the time if we're ever going to be good. And so he called Tittman, and I actually drove down to Tittman with Garbers at the time, and they bumped up the sponsorship a good bit. And then I left the team. I kind of knew I was going to leave the team, right? Yeah. But I was like the one that was putting it all together, and my friends were still on the team.
Right.
So I was like, fuck, I don't want to leave and just leave you guys. I want to try to help you out. So then I ended up leaving, and then Fatty was still on the team, and that was when you guys came, and like Brandon Showers came, and Dago Nick came, and the team split in half though, like this. And some guys went to the PSP, which was your guys' half, which was that yellow jersey you have right there.
Yeah, Tittman Effect X.
Yeah. So the first event in LA, you guys all played together. I don't know if you were in that LA event, but it was like Gursky from Brimstone, and all those guys played together. And then it was kind of like there was like 30 dudes. So Eric just split the team in half more or less with the OGs, and then the kids went this way.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that went.
Yeah, because I remember playing an IAO, and I don't know if it was the 2003 one, and that's because I played the 7-man one where it wasn't with all the kids that I was playing with.
You played in 03 with Nick, and you guys went the trip to Aruba, right?
Yes, but I couldn't go. I couldn't go to Aruba, man. So I never even got. Yeah, I never.
Yeah,
I
was there because I was helping coach you guys, and I remember you had that stupid tiger stripe orange Tittman, right? And I remember I was like, man, this guy's
really. I still have that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's sweet, dude. I had mine. Mine was sweet. It was all covered in stickers and shit.
Yeah.
And I gave it to Tom Phineas whenever I went pro. Tom just got on the team, and he's like, we worked together at Future Ball, and I said, here's like your little party gift, this dog shit little gun that I got.
Did you ever do anything to it? Because I always kept mine manual.
Oh, yeah, manual was the way to go. The problem was the electronic kit back then was a gas hog, right? So you get like 2 pods off of it. But what we'd do is we'd take them, we'd open them up, and you get like an aluminum polish, and you polish it up inside, and you sand off the hammer a little bit, and smooth out the sear.
Yeah, smoothing out the sear was my big thing. Yeah.
We put like a pen spring in there, but I mean it was still done.
Yeah, no, it was. Whenever I played, for the most part, until I played 7-man with Lockout, when those guys came down, like Chad Rule and all those guys, when they came down, is when I put the E-Bolt kit and I threw a halo on the. Dude, the thing was so heavy, it was ridiculous.
Dude.
It was so much fun.
I had the sweetest thing though. So the A5 came out at Memphis right before I left the team. So Memphis.
I never liked them, dude. I never liked the A5.
I didn't either. So, but what I did is they made the A5 and we got it at Memphis Indoor in like November, right after the World Cup, and it was ridiculous. But it had that can on the thing, right, which was cool for snare games, but you couldn't play a tournament with it. Come out right, everything getting ripped on it. So I had a new machinist, and I had him like JB weld all the side of it, and they put a vertical feed on it. And that was when the Halo was still pretty new.
Yeah.
And so I just set it to 10 balls a second, semi-auto, with this Halo, and I never chopped a ball. And it was so fast. But then I quit the team, so it didn't matter. And I gave it to Ryan Dawsett.
That E-Bolt one that I used in 7-man, and I had a Halo on, I still had the right feed and everything in it. Dude, it never chopped a ball. It shot great, was loud as shit. But
shoot like 2 pods.
I still don't even shoot that much paint anyway, so it's like.
That's true. That's fair enough. I used to play the corner at 10-man, so I was like 17 years old, and I go down to the corner with like 14 pots.
Oh my god! It was like,
like your armor cramp up like this. There's almost no shooting left-handed. It was just like this.
Yeah, dude, those are some of the best days though, man. Looking back on it, like I had so much fun. Even though like do that good, but we did have some shining moments when I was on the team. It was just that feeling of being at tournaments and everything, because now it's still fun going to tournaments, but now there's just so much other bullshit that you have to do, that you're obligated to, and you got to be with the team, you got to do this. Back then it was so laid back, but it was still, I mean, at least I took it pretty serious, but I had so much fun.
Yeah, see, that kind of brings up my discussion of was the game more fun then? Because granted, I know we're playing X-Ball, but the X-Ball teams were just really bad, right? I mean, it's just the talent level then is nothing what it is now. So was it more fun because everybody participated, right? Even though you weren't a good player yet, right? You hadn't become a really good player, but at the time you probably weren't. I mean, I wasn't when I was on Timon.
No.
But because the game was what it was, we're having a better experience in regards to the game of playing. Whereas now everyone's so good, the game is so competitive, it becomes just about the competition, which I'm okay with, right? I mean, I'm a competitor, you're a competitor at this point in your life. But for all those kids coming, are they having as much fun? I don't know. I remember going to Vegas with Fatty, we're 17, right? And we're out there by ourselves until garbage came. We were out there for 2 days before these guys showed up. And we're like trying to sneak into the bars in Vegas and trying to get bums to buy us 40s on the corner. And like that's how we played the event, and it was so much fun that I wonder. Not that I'm advocating underage drinking. It was just like the things we did were fun, and I wonder if kids are having that much fun playing now, or if it's just all serious all the time.
That's a good question, because I feel like it definitely is, a lot more competitive now. I've always taken it very competitive, but as far as a team goes, the teams now are so much more competitive. You see them just walking around with each other, watching games together, and they're just I mean, obviously they have a good time, but just all the meetings and this and that, like it wasn't like that back then.
Here's my thing too, is I'm conflicted, right? Because I want it to be a sport because that's what I like. But the reality is we tried to make it a sport. It didn't work on TV, so maybe we should just make it fun. I don't know. I could go either way. Right. But in that same Vegas event, I watched Lasoya. And Lasoya was by far, I think, growing up, probably the best player until all of it came along. Right? Lasoya was nasty. Best. It was unreal. And I watched him come back from the club and bar at 6 a.m., go upstairs, grab his gear bag, go right to the field, and pull out 3 ridiculous games in Vegas. And that was the stuff that just happened back then. Yeah. It was just 10, and that was just the game. And, the whole experience as a whole was awesome. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of jaded, but maybe that's just part of being pro now. I don't know.
Well, one thing there was one event I remember. It was San Diego, I think 2005. It was either 2004 or 2005. And it was when Excessive was still fairly new. And it was the 7-man there. And I remember Excessive... They got beat by, it was like a throw together team. I think Billy Wing was playing for them, and then Mr.
The men, that was 04.
Yeah, the men.
And they won.
But weren't they completely trashed, and they still won?
Yeah, and they won. I couldn't believe when they won. They played awesome. But so that's what I mean. Like, and I'm not saying, we need to go out and get drunk and party, but the whole experience has shifted, right? It used to be you went to the national tournaments, it was this whole thing, dude. It was traveling there and going out and seeing the city and going out and partying with your friends and then going to play paintball. And right back then they used to have after parties and players parties and
dude,
stuff.
I miss those so much.
Yeah. I mean, they still have them in Asia and Europe, which is awesome. But here it's all business all the time. Like D5 teams are out there 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And it's like, is that what the game should be? And I don't know. That's where I'm saying I'm conflicted. I don't know what the right answer is.
I mean, because you almost have to compare it, though, to, like, the baseball and the football and all that of high school and even grade school, because those kids, I mean, the competitive ones, at least I remember, like football, baseball, if I want to be competitive and I wanted to be good, I had to put the work in. I had to go to practice, get yelled at, make the mistakes, and it wasn't always fun. But it's like you're saying is, the game of today and the tournaments of today were definitely nothing what they were back then, because
and that's one reason why I did that tournament in Pittsburgh, the Iron City Classic, because I was like, while some people still listen to what I have to say, because probably down 10 years now, people are like, that guy's washed up, I don't give a shit what he has to say.
I feel bad that I missed it. That's how much, dude.
Right, and that's what I mean. Like, I wanted to create something that was like this little snapshot of what paintball was to me growing up, right? We're drinking beers at the field, not while playing, but afterwards, everyone's having beers and bullshitting. And it was how I remembered paintball, and that was my motivation for it. I was like, I remember the first 10-man I went to in 2000 Chicago, and I saw the experience that just took me over, and I was like, I love it.
Right.
And that's kind of what I wanted to present to people, because I think that is what happens from that format, right? Everyone just is a little bit more laid back.
Yeah. I feel the same, and I think that was kind of the mentality and the feeling at the 7-man events. It was very laid back. It was a little bit more on the slow side, but it still gave you time to not just, I don't want to say bullshit, but it gave you time to focus and to really kind of hone in, and I feel like have that really team camaraderie, and have that time.
I liked going back to your little tent in your pit, right, with your little army of dudes, and you sit there with a map and you discuss it for 20 minutes, and then you talk about what you're going to do later tomorrow night or what you did last night, and talk about the next game after that. And I was like, that was hanging out with your team was part of it. And the game that we have sometimes gets away from that, right? I mean, it's not as much of a team game as an individual game in regards to just one-on-one battles, and you don't have as much strategy in regards to where you go, right? There's only 2 bunkers to go to. You're either going short or you're going long.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for X-Ball. I probably wouldn't. No one would care what I would say, because I would have been some has-been 10-man player. But
there's a reason you're here.
Yeah, I just worry that maybe X-Ball is just ruining the whole experience of what paintball was meant to be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I think there's a place for all of them. Again, that's one thing, is like people are like, oh, you're anti-X-Ball, NXL. No, I love the NXL. I love X-Ball. I think it should grow. I hope they have 500 teams at World Cup. Mm-hmm. But I just think that the industry, the players, the supporters, everything that is paintball should start getting behind something else that can fill that void that's left behind.
Do you think that's just us being in the sport as long as we have, and now not having that awe experience every time we go to an event? Or do you think kids are still having that now?
I put up a post on my Facebook like 2 weeks ago, and I asked that same question. I was like, I hope that kids are having that much fun. And I don't know, man. I don't know what it is, because I remember seeing when you were growing up and with Farkas and stuff, and you guys were running around the tournaments having like the time of your life. Mm-hmm. And I don't see kids doing that as much, right? They go there, they walk the fields, they scout the games, they get in their rental car, they go home, they go to bed, they wake up, they do it again.
Right.
What's the longevity of paintball if that's what it is, right? We're not going to be on TV anytime soon. Maybe one day we will, but these kids aren't practicing to go to get college scholarships and make $1 million. It should just be fun as hell, and that's what paintball is supposed to be. And so I don't know. I just don't see, like, Atlantic City was I guess that's before we got where we're at. I was saying Atlantic City was awesome. That was one of the best events, mm-hmm. right? From business, from the team, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I remember walking around and I'm like, man, everybody just seems so focused in a good way, right? You're focused on what you're doing, but you're almost forgetting about why you're really there.
Yeah, what made it so much? What do you think made it so much different, though? Because I mean, it had a vendor area like all the other events. It had the fields like all the other events. Had the same teams. Like, what do you think made it so different?
I mean, I think I have to give a lot of credit to Tom and his brother and Camille. I mean, I think Tom is really in sync with the players. Mm-hmm. So little silly things like having that bar, right? There's a big bar in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. The vendors were set up in that big circle, so there's kind of like this tight-knit community. Just the way the fields were set up, just the logistics of the whole event were good. The weather was good, and I think they're doing their best to mimic Europe. I don't think we can copy Europe in regards to the social dynamic. Right, in Europe, everyone's just having a blast.
Right.
But the logistics, the NXL is doing a good job of copying, which I give them kudos for, because whatever the Mayhem did right or wrong, the one thing they did do well is their logistics.
Right.
So that carries a long way, and this is a prime example, right? There was a couple X-Ball events a while ago where you'd walk from the tent, or you'd walk from the parking lot, walk right to your field, turn right back out, and you never passed the vendor, you never passed another field, you could never pass another body if you didn't want to, mm-hmm. and it just wasn't part of the experience. Whereas like you walk by and you bullshit with somebody, you stop and you have a beer, like you go to the vendor tents. That's part of the whole paintball experience to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made Atlantic City really good. Like Tom's brother Tyler does an awesome job with the logistics, and it's little things like these that now I see more and more that make a huge difference.
Do you? I can't remember if they have it or not, but do you think there should be some kind of like little inflatable field that's netted where people walking by or just coming to the events could try to play paintball?
Yeah, I mean it's a good idea. I mean they've tried doing that before. Like the MPPL tried doing it. They do it in Millennium. The problem is that most people just go, okay, that's cool. I'll go to my local field and try it. So right they don't have their clothes with them or want to wear some dirty old rental goggles. I mean, the more things that we do to expose the average person, yes. I don't think that the national level tournaments are getting the casual walkthrough people. Like some guy off the street. I mean, there's probably a couple hundred of them, which really isn't that many, right? I mean, look at SC Village. They run like a couple thousand people a day. So, what you do at the national level tournament is not focus on that. It's providing the best experience to the people that have made that last level progression to the national tournaments.
Do you start having tournaments at these bigger fields that have a lot of traffic like that?
Yeah, but I guess that goes back to my whole thing about why I did the Iron City Classic. Here's my whole spiel, and I'll try to make it quick.
No, it's all right. I have as much time as you do.
I could go on for this like 5 hours. So I think one thing that's put us into this, like, not a problem, but this dilemma in paintball is that the X-ball players have gotten so good, right? I mean, you're 10 times the player you were 12 years ago, right? The talent level is so high, not just the pros, but the divisional level.
The mistakes aren't there anymore.
Right. So people that go from playing rental guns with Tippmans at Toledo Indoor Paintball going bang, 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 like a bachelor party, to get to playing the tournaments at the NXL is ridiculous. Right, that gap is 500 miles long, right?
Yeah.
Whereas before, when you started, and think about your own experience, when you started playing with your buddies, right, and then you started working at Toledo Indoor or whatever, you go play some 3-man tournaments, you could go play at Warzone or whatever, and go play some easy events in the woods or on the big spool fields, and then you move up to the airball fields or the hyperball fields, and there are these transitions in paintball like this, right? Whereas now it's like you go from here straight to here. Right. And some people can't make that climb, or they hit this wall before they make the climb and they go, screw that, I'm done. So the conversion rate that we get from the rental players to the experienced players isn't the rate that it should be, right? And these guys over here comprise a lot of gross sales. They comprise the growth of tournament paintball. So we need this like little middle ground right here. It used to exist, right? I mean, those local events don't happen anymore. So that was, again, my proposal in regards to the Iron City Classic is it's like, there's this opportunity for people, whether young, middle, or old, it appeals to those 3 target demographics, which is the whole spectrum, to come in and play competitive paintball, to shoot at each other with something on the line in a team. And then that can help you develop and keep that desire going. And that's one thing I think the UWL's done, right? I mean, they provided an outlet that was different than what we play, but in a tournament aspect. Like, they're one of the last remaining guys that do that. So we just as an industry have to support more of those things, which may be, like you're saying, at SC Village. SC Village has a 7-man tournament or 5-man tournament or 10-man tournament in the woods. And you say, hey, 2,000 people that are here playing walk-on, you could go do that. And then the guys look over and they go, that's not that bad. But when those guys look over and they see Carl Markowski running down, Oliver Lang on the airball field, they go, fuck that. I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Like, there's a significant level of athleticism, talent, and skill that just almost deters people.
Right.
So we just got to come up with a middle ground between that.
Well, and I think that's why I preach all the time that it's the tournament players that are playing at these local fields to really perform and try and bring these other players in and be as comforting as possible to these new players and these players wanting to get into the tournament scene, because you are the ones that are going to make or break that experience for that player coming on. So I'm always trying to tell people, hey, be the best you can be on getting people, pretty much recruiting people to come play this side of the sport. Right. I mean, that's... Of
course, yeah. I mean, that's like, it's the rule of 10, right? For every one of us that's competitive, we probably can tell 10 people about why they should play paintball, right? And so as long as we can provide a good experience for all those people, whether it's beginner, some guy getting into paintball that's got his own, shocker or axe or whatever that wants to get more involved with it, helping them find teams or fields, like that's our responsibility. But in a greater grand scheme of things, we have to be provided someplace where we can reference them to go, not just fields, but in regards to goals of the game.
So what do you think about all the pro teams, and not necessarily the teams themselves, but the players? Like, where do you see the professional player in 5 years? Do you see them all getting paid? Do you see some kind of incentive for the professional player besides getting travel paid for and gear paid for?
No, I don't. Actually, it's going to get worse before it gets better, which is kind of sad in a way. I mean, the reality is we have too many pro teams. There's a gap probably between the 8th and 9th team to the 10th and 11th, and there's a big gap between the 13th and the 14th. And I don't know if we can, as an industry, sustain all of those, but I think the sponsorship is going to get worse before it gets better, which sucks. again, this is a whole long conversation. What's happening now is that the industry isn't getting the players to go from rental player, which there's a ton of them. Like, what's that big game out in the Poconos gets 5,000 people, right? That's bigger than the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not getting those guys to go the tournament paintball side enough. It's not happening fast enough. We're losing sometimes more than we're getting, right? Mm-hmm. Where it should always be more coming in than leaving. So it's making the manufacturers question where they put the sponsorship, which in the 90s, I just talked to Todd Adamson, who was in Chicago. Mm-hmm. He's like, in the 90s, it was crazy, the amount of sponsorship, because there's so many tournament players coming into paintball, right? Back in the 90s that the industry was like, God, we got to have something for these guys to look up to and someone for them to aspire to be, because there's so many people coming in. They got to keep moving up the pipeline. That they were getting paid and everything was a full ride for almost every pro team.
See, but I feel like that's the difference, though, right? Of back then, you saw the magazines, and if you went to the tournaments, you saw these guys. So it was a rare occurrence that you saw them. So it was kind of like awe-inspiring when you did see them or anything. But now I feel like because we're not, with social media and everything, we can hype ourselves up, but we're still not getting paid for that. And then on top of that, it's like we're not signing contracts. Anybody could use my face as far as sponsors go. It's like I don't have any kind of contract, but there's there's sponsors that are possibly making money off of my face or whatever. I'm not saying they are, but we have no the average pro player has no way to make any kind of money unless you do the social media thing or you do clinics or you do this kind of thing. That's the tough part about being a pro player.
Right, and it is hard because the reality is, and it's tough because I wear both hats, right? I wear this player hat that says, hey, I want to make $5 million a year, whatever, pay me more. And then I wear this industry hat that says the reality about the whole thing is that the players have to be able to convert to sales. So if I give you, Carl Markowski, 3 guns, you need to be able to probably sell me 10. If you're not selling 10 guns for those 3 that I give you, it's not worthwhile. And that, again, goes back to that conversion of how do you call somebody like WDP, because they're gone, so no one will get angry if I use them. So let's say, how do you call WDP and say, hey, me and Carl made a new team, right? The Toledo Pumpers, and we want to get 100 guns to make our team go. Back in the day, they would be like, oh yeah, 100%, because these guys are going to go play in the local fields. They'll go around here, all these tournaments, and they'll sell 300 guns. But now if I give you 100 guns, I'm not sure if that's going to equate to 100 sales. Even. So at best, I'm break even. Like that's the unfortunate discussion that's happening in the industry because the pipeline of new tournament players isn't big enough.
Yeah, you're almost hoping as someone in the industry, you're almost hoping that because they're going to do their own marketing, if anything. So it's they are in control of themselves in the marketing side of it because of social media. So I mean but that's the thing. It's not the dealings with the player itself. It's the dealings with the team's contract. It's the team owners that have contracts with these.
And they're not that big. Honestly, I can pretty much tell you what every team gets. It's not there right now, right? And you want to get that, we have to get growth. And to get growth, I still think we have to have eventually some other alternatives to the game to create growth, or we have to have a fundamental change because we're not on a decline. I think we're especially after the recession, right? As an industry, I think we've been up, right? I mean, with the recent year, the industry's probably up, but we got to get some big spikes. Like back in 2005. It was unreal how big tournament paintball was.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I remember I just moved there to work at Smart Parts, and we would count guns that we sold by the pallet. Oh, we sold 5 today, right? And, you go to some gun manufacturer, they sell 10 guns a day. Oh, great, that's like $10,000 sales. That's a good day, whatever. Yeah. We were like, oh, we sold 5. No, that was 5 pallets of guns. Like, that was like 200 guns out the door today, 300, like 500. The Ion, we were selling thousands of them sometimes in a day. Right? The industry was just booming. And combination of recession, I think maybe people got tired of tournaments. We have more things to compete with, right? Video games are unreal now. Airsoft has gotten big. Things like the Tough Mudders, just all these CrossFit, all these alternatives for outdoors competitive people have popped up that are actually competitors to our industry. So,
Yeah, that's a tough spot. We're still trying to fight. And that's what sucks is like we're still almost trying to fight for that extreme sport spotlight almost.
Yeah. So, and that's my thing is I say, you know what? Let's screw TV. Let's screw webcast. Let's just try to make the tournament experience as fun as possible for everybody that comes through the door. Not just the Tim and the Carls that are in the 1% that play pro, but for the 99.99% of people that ever pick up a paintball gun. Let's make the whole experience from beginning to the time that they retire as much as fun as possible.
Yeah, grow from the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once we do that, we'll have to pay notice.
Yeah. I mean, because I only made $500,000 last year. And I'm
short year, dude. Sorry, man. Dude, you tough times, dude. I don't know how you're living.
It's terrible. It's terrible, dude.
That's clown money.
Dude, God. Dude, I was watching, I keep watching these video clips, these Showtime video clips of the McGregor Mayweather fight and all this other bullshit.
It's unreal how much money those guys are making.
Dude, they can walk in there and both knock each other out and just both fall down and they're still getting paid, and it's like
I think Mayweather's making like $220 million. Can you believe that? $220 million? I will let you beat me up with a lead pipe in the face for $220 million.
Dude, that's the thing. It's like, I bet there's people going over to Mayweather and be like, man, you know, what if he does beat you up or whatever? I'm like, I could give a shit about my pride, about my legacy. If I go 49-1, dude, $220 million will buy my pride for me. Like, it's crazy, right? Crazy. Yeah. And even McGregor, he won't have to fight after this. If he doesn't want to.
Not if you want to. I mean, guys like that, I mean, you don't get there by doing that, by doing it for the money, right? They do it because it is about the pride. The only way I think you get to do that is because of your pride. So,
but yeah, I agree. It is, though? I mean, would they still be doing this for $10 million?
Yeah. I mean, that's what McGregor. I mean, look at
you think Mayweather would
though. If he had never made the 51st or the 101st and it was $10 million a fight, oh yeah. Right, he didn't get into boxing because he was making $10 million. He got into boxing probably because he loved it. I mean, I just can't think of too many guys that reached the elite level of whatever they do that went through all the bullshit amateur stuff. Doesn't matter if you're playing baseball, football, basketball, hockey, boxing. You got it because you loved it, and then one day a paycheck came about. You know, granted, you and I are probably still waiting for those big paychecks, but we still love it. And I guarantee there's still some adoration that Mayweather has for boxing. And if he lost this fight, I bet that if you went back to him and said, hey, you can have the $220 million and lose the fight or nothing and have said you won it, he'd probably say he'd rather won it. Mm-hmm. Right? That's just I don't know him, so I'm not going to pretend to. But, I mean, I know how if it was Carl, you could win. You could have $5,000 or $10,000 and you lose Chicago. Or you can get nothing and you win Chicago.
I mean, winning's fun.
Of course. At our age, dude, $5,000, $10,000, whatever the prize package is now, I'd take the win all day, dude. The money, I'll earn it back, but those wins, you won't get those.
See, but that's what sucks. It's like, you know, all the bigger guys, all the more professionals in all these other sports, they're getting paid regardless. That's right. What sucks. Like with us, you know, there's some guys out there that aren't, you know, so well off. You know, right. that maybe I don't want to say that they're counting on the money from the winnings or the money from selling gear or something like that, but it's like they're still not really, they're working their 9-to-5 $40,000 a year job, and it's this whole exaggerated hobby thing that we're doing is just for fun. But
right,
the kids growing up, are they wanting to play pro just for fun? I mean, we're obviously saying that there's no money in it if you're going to want to play pro, but you know, I feel, I don't know, it just sucks. I mean
you didn't start playing for the money. I mean, you didn't start playing for the money.
No, I don't think anybody does, as far as, you know, any sport. But you look at all these other sports and things that people have been doing for, you know, years and years, blood, sweat, and tears, broken bones, time, all this shit, and then we just so happen to pick the sport. If you choose to just play the sports side of it,
we pick the worst one.
The one that doesn't pay for shit. It'll pay for a flight and some gear. But if you want to make a living off it, you got to do what you do and, you know, go to that industrial side.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you just do it because you love it. And I know there's no bullshit to it. There's no, you know, crystal ball on what the future is. But right now, my only advice, and people go like, what do I got to do to be pro? What to do this? So you got to be committed to just loving it. There's going to be some tough times and some good times, and if you don't really love it, then just stay Division II and party with your buddies and whatever. But, you know, everybody that's pro now is doing it because they love it. And, you know, don't hold your breath for the money. And if the money never comes, I'm fine. I don't care. You know, I would have liked it. I mean, and I made some money. Don't get me wrong. We both made some money playing paintball. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, keep your day job.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what
I mean,
sucks.
look, every pro sport did that, right? Football, right? The guys in the off season were like janitors, and back in like the early 1900s or whatever, the 40s and stuff. And that's
Dude, they would go play. They would play football on Sunday and then go lay brick on Monday.
yeah,
Monday through Friday.
yeah,
That's how it should be. That's. I was watching another on HBO. What is it? The Hard Knocks with the Buccaneers this year, or whatever. Just watching that and like, holy fuck, dude, how much money these guys are making.
it's unreal, right?
It is unbelievable, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was like what was it? Which one was I watching? I was watching I think it was the draft. Some of the draft, like last year or the year before, or whatever, when Ezekiel Elliott from Ohio State went to Dallas.
Yep.
Like his sign-on bonus or some bullshit or whatever the fuck it was, his rookie sign-on bonus like 90 million, or I don't know what it was, but it was a lot of money.
It's crazy.
And then the lifestyle of being a college football player and then signing a contract for millions of dollars. I would love to know that experience of that lifestyle change.
It's crazy. I mean, the amount of money in sports is unreal. So, I mean, I guess that kind of always makes me feel good, like hoping that, like, not me personally, but maybe some of that comes to our industry. Probably like what one guy makes, like James Harden, right? For the basketball player from the Rockets, makes like $45 million a year, not counting endorsements. If we took $45 million and injected into our industry, we'd have a whole new ball game. Like, it's crazy. Like the amount of money these guys make, like you're saying, is unreal.
Yeah, I mean, what do you see as far as, you don't have to give away any secrets of what you guys, as far as DLX or anybody's working on. What do you see in the future as far as the equipment goes? Do you see anything changing or anything?
Probably. So this is a tough one too, because I think the game's rate of fire is going to get slower over time, which is crazy because we used to play like unlimited rate of fire, like blow each other up.
Semi-auto was great.
But I think it's going to get slower, only to help ease that gap between, newer players and tournament players. So I think it'll get slower. This is just my own personal prediction.
Right.
But if it gets slower, right, then the manufacturers have to start focusing on how smooth a gun shoots, or the efficiency of a gun, or the quality manufacturing of it, how durable it is. And so from a hard goods manufacturer, that's probably going to be the focus in the next 4 years.
Are you going to see more loaders coming out, since they're not going to have to feed 30 balls a second anymore?
I don't know. I mean, every time I'm like, okay, the loaders are never going to get any better. Something comes out that's better. Like when the Spire came out, I was like, they're never going to make it better. And they made the new one, and it never jams. I mean, there's some little thing that they do that makes it significantly better. And I remember when I had my Shocker SFT, and we won the World Cup, and I remember playing with it, holding. I go, this is the best gun. It'll never get any better. And then the Lux came out. Yeah. And it just changed the whole high-end game, right? So, never say never. And if I had the idea, I'd probably not tell it to you anyways.
No, that I respect that. And I'm actually thinking that now. I'm like, and I think everybody does with like electronics, with paintball, with anything. It's like, where do you go from here? With paintball, I mean, with Planet Eclipse and DLX and Die, and I mean, because they're all built off of this base of a paintball marker, right? It's like, and you can only do something so many different times. It's like look at the auto industry now. It's all the same shit. They're all standardizing now on shit like cameras and sensors and all this other stuff, but it's all the same shit, just bells and whistles. So I'm always wondering, what are those now bells and whistles that are going to be attached to loaders and lights and fucking all the kinds of shit now.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure the auto manufacturers, like when Ford made their Model T or whatever, they're like, oh, it'll never get better than this. This is the best. And then the next thing comes out. I mean, there was a time when the paintball gun manufacturers thought that the blowback guns, right, the Tippmann style, the Sheridan style, the Spider style, that was it. They're like, oh my God, it's semi-auto. It'll never be better than this.
Right.
And the electronic guns come, and I'm sure when the pump guys were playing with the pumps, like Marty Bush never transitioned. It took him like a whole year before he transitioned from a pump to semi-auto. I mean,
I wish I got to see Marty Bush play. I hear so many older pros talk about Marty Bush. Like I wish I got to see him play.
Yeah, he was. He retired. Like I watched him play a little bit, but he retired pretty much right when I got into tournaments. Like super into it. He's a good player. So
that's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, there's always these guys that, dude, before our time were amazing. I mean, like I wish I would have got to see like Daryl play more. I mean, even though I work with Daryl and he's an asshole some days, like he was a good player when I started growing up and watching. You know, he was still good then, so I can only imagine back in his heyday.
Right.
You know, like Shane Pistana, and like I was thankful I got to see guys like Losoya. I mean, there's so many really good players. So, and it's a shame that, you know, they never got a paycheck or they'll never be a Hall of Fame for him.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what it is in the sport, man. It's all about our stories and what we remember, and now what we have on tape, at least, because of the, you know, the webcast. But I mean, that's all this sport is. It's stories, having fun with your team, with you know, having your experiences. And
I mean, like sometimes like talking about like the money and all this stuff, like is like, oh, it's almost depressing. And then I say, you know, and I'm not a manic to depressive guy. I'm usually pretty happy. So I like to just say, you know what, who cares, right? It's fun, right? We have a good time. You know, me personally, I love playing the game, whether it's X-ball, one-on-ones, in the woods. I just love it. Yeah. And as long as everyone just says, screw it, let's just play paintball and have as much fun as we can have, then we're okay.
Yeah, and I think that's what keeps us at the level that we're at, right?
Yeah, of course.
You know, and all the, you know, the good players and good teams. I think that's they're somehow finding that sweet spot of where they can be competitive, but they can have a shit ton of fun.
Exactly. I mean, it's a fun game. It's a really, really fun game, and as long as we don't fuck it up, you know, a lot of people, I hope, in the next however long will enjoy it.
Well, it's a challenge, man. Every time you step on the field, it's a challenge, and I think that's what's so addictive to it. There's always some kind of interaction every time you step on the field. There's always some kind of gunfight, some kind of hiding, some kind of attacking. No matter what you're doing, you're engaged in the game.
I mean, and to me, it's the teams. You know what I mean? I've been fortunate where pretty much every team I've played on, I've played with a lot of friends. Mm-hmm. And that's that bonding experience of, even though we were complaining about earlier and, you know, just all the other shit, the practices and all the grind that goes into it, you do it with your friends and your teammates, and that's part of the addiction to me. Is like, once you're done with paintball and you start doing that in the real world, it's like, you know, it's cost analysis reports and, you know, job interviews, and it's just not as team-oriented and that bond towards one specific common goal that has an immediate result. So
Right. How many teams have you played for?
Oh, God. I was talking to John Dress with UWL, and I was like, man, it's crazy how people just jump around from team to team now. He's like, well, don't you? And yes, I am guilty of that. However, when I went to the All-Americans, I thought that were around the time I was on the All-Americans. I was like, this will be the last time. I actually only played one tournament with Fusion. So I played with Thunder, Detroit Thunder.
Yeah.
And then I played a couple 7-mans with Fusion, and then I was on the All-Americans. But I would have ended on the All-Americans. Like, I wanted to be the guy that played 20 years on one team, but the team ended.
Right.
So, you know, and then I went to Shock, and that was an interesting experience. So,
how so?
The shock that you were on is different probably than the Shock that I was on. You know, it was just, I went from being on the All-Americans, and if you said practice started at 8, you were there at 7:59 playing, right? If it was, hey, you're going to shoot 80 cases, I knew we were going to shoot 90 cases, and we're going to play for 8 hours, we're probably going to play for 9 hours. And it was organization and structure to the max. And then Shock has this laid-back attitude, which works for you guys. I don't know if it's still like that. But when I was on a team 7 years ago, I mean, it's like, hey, we start at 10. Yeah, that means we get there around 11, playing by noon. But the team made it work, you know, and we actually had a good year. Like, we made the finals at World Cup. But it just, I needed a little bit more structure, so I ended up going to Impact. And the same thing happened. I was like, I'm going to end my career on Impact. And I really like that team. Like, Bart's the man, dude. Like, if you've ever met Bart, he's like the nicest guy and the coolest dude in all of paintball. And I was like, this will be the last team. And then
I almost played for them.
Did you?
Yeah.
Whenever we left?
It was 2015. It was between X Factor and Impact. And Impact ended up not dropping anybody, so they just said they just couldn't, you know, find room.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a good team. I don't have a lot of regrets in life where you're like, oh, I regret that, because you can't live like that. But, you know, the leaving Impact to go to Heat was a tough decision for me. And in hindsight, I probably should have wrote out the Impact thing because it was going so well and I liked it. You know, at the end of the day, if I didn't do that, I would have ended up on Damage, which I love. I love the team. I love the guys. And I'm happy where I'm at. You know, but there was a rough 2 years on Heat. It just wasn't a good fit for me.
Yeah. And nothing against X Factor, like that's a solid program too. Yeah, I mean, I was glad that I got to go there and experience that. And Alex is a great guy, stand up dude, and you know, but it's just everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. And I remember that, and I felt bad because we were actually in the same boat. I think you went there when I went to Heat. And I know we were both talking at one event where we're just not having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that ruined my play. It ruined my perspective on the game. And, those were tough 2 years. And if it wasn't for Damage, I don't know what I would have done because those guys put the fun back in the game for me.
Did you approach them or did they come to you about it?
So I was going to go play with another pro team. And I pretty much said, hey, I'm on the team. Let's just do this. And then out of the blue, Jason
what other team was that?
Another good team. It was a pretty good team. So. But I was going to go play with them. I like them, and I could have enjoyed playing with them for a long time too.
Mm-hmm.
But then Jason called me, and we've been friends for a long time since we were like teenagers.
Right.
And he said, "Hey, we got this good thing going. Come down." And I said, "It just felt right. Having Jason get a hold of me just felt right." And I said, "Screw it. It's what's meant to be."
Right.
So.
Well, that's what it is though. Paintball, you try and find that fit. Right,
yeah.
You try and find that the whole time. Everyone's competitive, everyone's doing this, but you always find that, and I think every player goes through this. You find that wall, and you just kind of like that decision, that fork in the road of where do I try and that's why I left. Aftershock was the same reason you were talking about. It's like it was so nonchalant. I felt like Rennick wasn't in it as much. I felt like Bruno wasn't in it as much. Everybody's head was just everywhere else than where I felt.
That's just
like
who they are.
Yeah, and
it's just who they are. They're into it, but it feels different.
Yeah, and I came back knowing that things could have changed or could not have changed.
Right.
It definitely helps that they're in Chicago, but dude, I know I like the heart and the passion of the team. I'm always there, early. I'm always there wanting to get on the field before and do some snap shooting drills and, kind of hone in on everything and practice as long as we can. Except for Sunday, I try and at least hit the road a little bit early so I can be home at a decent time. But
right.
But I don't know, man. Like I don't think we're missing too many things on the team now.
Yeah.
I think we have enough young guys.
No, I think you guys got a good squad. I think you guys have the best squad that Shock's had in a long time. And I like Bruno's passion. Like, I like Mike a lot. Like, I like his approach to the game because he's got that old school fuck you mentality that I like. And that's why I like him a lot because I like that. But, I think you guys have a lot of good mix of people. I think you guys are there. Having Nick come, I think, is good for you guys.
Yeah. I think Rob coming back helps too.
Yeah. I think the hard part, though, is budgets, right? I mean, for teams, we're kind of in the same boat, too, where we can't always practice pro teams and we can't go wherever we want, whenever we want. Mm-hmm. And that creates some issues. That's tough.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's always been for Shock, is just finding pro teams to come practice us because, we can't go everywhere. The most pros that we actually get to play is whenever the Chicago event comes around. And
like you guys came to Florida this winter, which was crazy. I couldn't believe you guys came down there for that.
Dude, that was fun. That was real fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys came down. It was good practice.
I hope we get to do that, maybe towards or even before World Cup or, next year. I'd love to come down and do that. I think it helped us all a ton.
Yeah, that was good practice. Like back in the day, like back in 03, 04, Shock used to go to Florida every weekend during the winter. When X-Ball first started, it was crazy how often they were down there.
Well, that shows you the budget of back then too.
Yeah, everyone went to Todd Adamson's field, right? Because he was on Shock and he owned a field in Fort Myers, and they were down there every weekend.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Nice.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, dude, I could sit here and talk for hours with you and everything, but I definitely want to get with you again, probably sometime at a tournament, maybe even cup or something like that. But
sure.
Because I want to dig a little bit more, kind of into your past and where you came from and your position on some of these teams that you came through. But dude, I appreciate you sitting down with me.
No, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I will talk to you real soon here. Chicago, what? 2
I'll
weeks away?
see you in like 10 days.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, take care. Yeah, dude, I love it though. I love every second of it. Yeah, no, me too, dude. I'm glad I was able to come on here too. Thanks, man. Well, I will see you soon. Way to be, microwave. Thank you, dude. I still have that. I think actually you sent it to me. It was a picture where I was wearing like this jacket or like this overcoat thing, and then you were like super young, and I forget where it was though.
Dude, it's crazy, and I'm happy for you because it's crazy to see how far you've come. Because I remember when you used to ref at Toledo Indoor, and you had all the acne and stuff, and you were playing, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's a kid that's really fast." I'm like, "Who the fuck is that guy?" You know what I mean? And to see how far you've got is really cool.
I was so self-conscious back then, like, and even playing wise, and even around my friends, I was so self-conscious, and the acne didn't help for sure. And
no, I wasn't doing that big fight. I just remember how young you were, right? I mean, you were so young.
Well, yeah, it is crazy to see how, especially where we came from. Like, paintball wasn't really that big where we were, and being able to find that area with Tipman effect, and then coming through. And then being where we're at now, it's just crazy to see that.
Right, life is funny, right? That you end up in this exact situation after all these decisions still lead you here.
Yeah, fuck, it's crazy. I wouldn't trade it for anything though, man.
Yeah, I hear you, dude. I was actually looking. I still have scars from Toledo Indoor.
Oh my God. Dude, I remember one time. It was definitely when all the dirt turned to concrete. Oh, yeah. And dude,
shredded you up, dude.
One time I blew my knee out and just swelled up, and that was back before I started wearing knee pads and elbow pads and all that shit. And
back then, only girls wore the knee pads and elbow pads, dude.
Now that's the first thing I put on. I'm like,
I can't put them on fast enough.
All right, man. Well, we need to have a beer soon. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm about to have
some wine myself, but let's have a beer soon.
Hell yeah, bud. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Later, Carl.
See you, bud.
Man, that one went in all kinds of directions, but we kind of got to learn a little bit about his past and his career coming up. But he's everywhere. He's all over the place. He has a really solid head on his shoulders too, not just because he's a really good friend of mine, but I think he has a positive outlook for what tournament paintball should be, and if it's just if it ends up just being the experience, then let's make it the best experience that we can make. And I think that's a really good way to look at it. We've tried all these different things, but if we can't make it great for everybody else, let's make it great for us. So thank you so much, Tim, for sitting down. I had a really good time, and I really look forward to seeing you at the events, and hopefully some players parties. If they ever start doing those again, and having a beer at one of those and chit-chatting about more paintball stuff. Another quick thank you to our sponsors, Planet Eclipse, planeteclipse.com. You can find all the goods over there. Soft goods, guns. Well, I don't want to say guns. I'm trying not to say guns. I'm trying to say markers, so it's a little bit more friendly to, because whenever people say guns, they're like, gun is such a harsh, straight word, but everybody says it. But I'm trying to say markers now, so they have markers over there at Planet Eclipse, and preferably for me, the LVR. So make sure you check them out. Also, a thank you goes to Charm City Paintball, the manufacturer of some pretty slick headgear, head wraps, headbands, and I think he's working on something else. Oh yeah, that's right. He's working on some pack bands for myself, some custom pack bands just made strictly for your pack, just like the one that you see me wearing out there on the field. I'm going to be making some of those. They're a little bit thinner than a normal headband as far as width goes. It won't have the cotton cloth back, or the washcloth back, or whatever you want to call it, but they're going to be, for me, strictly for the pack band. So make sure you check them out. I'll have some in Chicago, which is in a few weeks. But thank you to Charm City Paintball. And lastly, to Raza Life, where you can customize anything you want on anything that you want. Shorts, tank tops, jerseys, pants. He has it all over at razalife.com. And remember, if you type in capital TPOP at checkout, you can get a sweet 19% off discount. That's another one. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Remember, if you want to look me up on social media, I am on Facebook at Carl Microwave Markowski. You can also find the Playing On podcast on Facebook. And then over on Instagram, my name is C. Mark Kizzle. And the Playing On podcast is also on Instagram. I need to post more on that Instagram, though. And make sure to keep an eye out for carlmarkowski.com. I am slowly but surely getting that thing together. Don't look right now because it's not. I haven't really launched it yet, but she is coming. It'll have blogs, videos, insight, all kinds of crazy stuff. But make sure to keep an eye out. But thank you again, everybody, for joining me on the Playing On podcast. We'll see you soon.